Hello, hello, everyone. It is Brenda here for Stamplicity, and welcome to What's Up Wednesday. All right, tonight we're going to the land of Oz. So a few weeks ago, we received the brand new um, collection from Graphic 45 called The Wonder of Oz. It had papers, stickers, ephemera, and such. It's been a really hot seller. And now we have the coordinating collection from Spellbinders. So they have partnered together to bring you this kind of collection that coordinates lovely with the Wonder of Oz from Graphic 45. And it is a very heavily better press. There is an embossing folder and then a die. All right. So I'm just going to go through all these. Now, these are prototypes that I have received from Spellbinders for an event that I was in. But we just received them this week in the packaging. So I don't even have the right names for them, but they are on the website and the pictures are there. All right, so let's talk about the silhouette die. All right, so when they came out with the Winnie the Pooh collection, they did a silhouette die, and so they did the same thing with the Wizard of Oz. They did a silhouette die with all the characters. So we're going to be playing around with that one first. And these are always quick and simple cards for anyone that loves Wizard of Oz. We're going to, it's just a great, and they're really lovely and detailed too. And I'll show you because I've already die cut them out. So we have that one. So that's a standalone die. All right. Then there is the um, Poppy Field, I think, embossing folder. This is a 3D embossing folder. It is beautiful. It is just lots and lots of poppies on there. But what's cool about this one is that you are going to get a die in there. All right. So you're going to be able to line this up on top of some of these poppy shapes and die cut them out. And then you can do some layering, which I think is going to be really, really effective. All right. So, which is kind of cool. So that is the 3D embossing folder. And then the rest of the collection is Better Press. Now remember, Better Press you can press with, and you can also foil with. All right. So if you have a Better Press, that's great. If you have a foil machine, yes, you can use these as well. So there is a sentiments. Again, I don't have I should have wrote the names on here, but I was rushing around when I got home from work, prepping and cooking dinner, and I totally forgot to do that. But there is a sentiment one, so we'll be using that this evening. I love it because it is a one and done. One press plate, one die set, you run it through and you're going to get all the sentiments. I love that they do this because it's just, I do this a few times. All right. And then I have a little container ready to go all the time. Um, and I'm not even going to try to read them because they're really hard to read backwards. True courage is facing danger when you are afraid. That one obviously goes with the lion, but there's going to have ones where all the characters on here. So that's the sentiment plate. And then we have the press plates with the characters. Now there are two here. So basically you're going to have Dorothy and the Witches. This one I did remember the name for. All right. So you're going to have Dorothy, the Good Witch and the Bad Witch. All right. And then you get the matching dies with them as well. And I love when Spellbinders does that because it gives you, you know, more things to do with them, right? So that is Dorothy and the Witches press plate. And then this is the Lion, Tin Man, and Scarecrow. All right. They're really lovely and detailed and just fabulous. All right. So that's what we're gonna play around with. I'm hoping to do like maybe 6 cards this evening. So let's get going. All right. So we're gonna get to the press plates in a bit. I want to start it off with a silhouette one. All right. I find this is a really quick and simple card. We're going to do 2 here. So the first one, all right, so I've already die cut this out of black cardstock. Take a look at that. Look at the lovely details on there, the silhouettes. You really can tell that is Wizard of Oz, all right? The Scarecrow, the Tin Man, he's just awesome. Dorothy, little Toto is there, and then, of course, the lion. All right, so what I started off with here is a 5.5 by 5.5 square. All right, so I'm going to do a square card, and then I'll do a regular A2 card, all right? So we're going to do some ink blending on here. So this is just white cardstock. It's my go-to Nina Solar 110 pound. And then on this one here, I just trimmed it out of black. All right. So this is an edger die. All right. That means it will just cut this as an edge. So you can create how thick what they're standing on, the base that they're standing on. I cut another one for our next card. So let me just grab that one. And this one I made a little bit thinner. All right. So it's an edger, which is awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. Now I figured, Wizard of Oz, the Emerald City, I think we needed to do a green background here. So that's where I'm gonna go with this. Um, so I couldn't find my Twisted Citron ink. I'm pretty sure it is at the store. So I just picked a couple of different greens here, and then I have the fossilized amber as well. So we're gonna go ahead and start with this. So I'm gonna have more of I'm gonna go darker to no, maybe I'll go darker to lighter. All right, doesn't matter. I'm gonna start with Mowed Lawn. That's gonna be my kind of my lightest green here. And I'm going to use the yellow to kind of lighten things up. All right. So I'm going to start with the mowed lawn, and I'm going to start at one end, and we're just going to, in a rotating motion, just add some color on here. All right. So I'm going to go about just about halfway, maybe a little bit more. All right. So, and when you blend, um, the first time you put the first coat of ink on, it's always going to be blotchy. You got to build it up, all right? You've got to have a base first, and then it will build up your inks or your color. All right, so I'm just going to add that first color. I'm going to go one more time. All right, so there's my first color. Now I'm going to move into Lucky Clover. I'm using the same brush, same color family. Now the Lucky Clover, I'm going to come from the opposite end here. And this one is, I don't use Lucky Clover a lot. You can tell because it's going on very saturated. It's a pretty color though. I should probably use it more. All right, so I'm going to overlap the colors. All right. It's quite green. I wish I had my Twisted Citron because that would have lightened things up, but all right, so there's that. And now I'm going to go into Rustic Wilderness. All right. And I'm just going to grab, and we're just going to hit this end here. All right. So we just want to deepen up kind of the edge here. Now, if for any reason, if you find you have hard edges, all right. You can go ahead and just go back to the first or second color. I'm just going to give my brush a little wipe here because that Rustic Wilderness is so dark. Just want to get the excess off. Sorry, I'm shaking the camera. And I'm going to go back to Mowed Lawn, and I want to just kind of help this blend. I'm so worried. I have a white sweater on, and I'm so worried I'm going to get ink on it. I should have changed, but okay. So now I want a little tip and trick. I want to add yellow to this. So if you find anything is a little too maybe dark and you just want to brighten it up a little bit, just add yellow ink on top. It's amazing. So I have fossilized amber here. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that up. Debbie, you love these. I love these brushes too. I think the Pink Fresh brushes are my favorite. See how that just brightens that up? I think the Pink Fresh brushes are my favorite brushes. And I do have a lot of brushes, but these ones here for backgrounds, I really like the movement of the bristles. All right, so I'm just going to add yellow on top of this. And it's just going to just brighten it up just a little bit. All right, I am happy with that. So let me just, there we go. Lovely. Okay, let me clean up my mess here. All right, and the next thing I'm going to do, just because the Emerald City, I just think gold goes with it. So I'm going to speckle this sheet with gold watercolor paints, because why not? Why not? Oh, maybe not. I can't open my, there we go. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water to my watercolor puck here. And all right, we got it. Sorry. One would think I would remember to do that every week, but I forgot. All right. Okay. Everyone good? Everyone got me? Sorry. In my rushing around, I forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb. So let me know if you can still see me and hear me. All right. Not sure if you could hear me while I was I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. And I got a phone call, and that just knocks the video out. So please tell me I am still okay. Okay, good. I'm back. All right. So, all right. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if you could hear me, but I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and a phone call came in, which knocks the camera out. Not sure if you can still hear me during that time, but I apologize. It's on Do Not Disturb now, so we're okay now. All right. So I did my background, and then I splattered with gold watercolor. Look how lovely that is. It is beautiful. Lovely, lovely, lovely. All right, so now I'm going to take my little silhouette, all right, and look how lovely this is going to look on there. Oh, I love it. Look at beautiful. All right, so I think I'm going to pop this up with a little bit of foam. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do um, the base of it, I'm going to do adhesive or glue, and then I'm going to put foam adhesives behind there, and that gives that shadowy illusion on there. All right, so let me flip this around. And grab my foam adhesives. So I will tell you that this die is long. Like you'll be able to just get it on an A2 card. But I'm going to show you, because I always like to mat my panels. I'm going to show you what you can do to make it fit. So I'm just going to put some foam adhesives behind the characters here, just to give it some dimension. All right, so I have my foam adhesives on the back, and I'm just putting them on the tops of the characters, basically. All right, and then I ran out of my tape adhesive runner. Forgot to grab a refill, so we're just going to use double-sided tape on the bottom. So then I'm going to put a line of double-sided tape right along the edge, and that will be enough. Okay, so let's take the release off of here. All right. And I'm going to line this right up to the bottom edge. Now I'm going to try to center it as best I can. I want to make sure all my characters are on. All right. Now the lion's tail might give you a little bit of, mine got caught. So I'm just going to kind of wind it back. And I'm just going to put a spot of glue just behind the little tuft on the tail there. And my glue press is not working because I forgot to put the cap it last night. So it's been sitting open all day. All right, so let me just stick that down. All right, and that's going to hold that in place, a little tail. So, all right, so now we'll stick these on. My foam adhesives may not stick because my ink is still wet, but it will eventually. All right, so now I'm just going to trim off the right and the left edges. And then my card is just ready for a sentiment, all right? But we'll do the sentiments after because I have not pressed them. I might even foil them, not on this evening's, but I may do it off camera. But there is, there's our first card, right? Nice little sentiment up here. And that one is done, all right? So I love the green and the gold on there. Really nice. Okay, let's do one more using this die. I'm going to put that to the side. And we're going to do an A2 card. All right, so I have a white piece of cardstock here. I've trimmed this to 4 by 5 1/4. So this is going to go on to a card base. All right, so let's do kind of a different... you know what? I think I'm going to emboss this one. So let's blend some red with the poppies on here. So I'm going to grab my lumberjack plaid. And let's do a nice little ink blend on this one. All right. And then let's emboss it with that 3D embossing folder. Okay. So I don't know what I'm going to do here. Let's just put some red on here. Again, I'm sorry, I'm shaking my camera. All right, so I got my base coat on. Now I'm going to go in again and add more color. I could have maybe started with a piece of red cardstock, but what fun is that? I love adding ink to paper. Now I really have to be careful with my sleeves with the red ink. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do just a light coat of ink on here. All right, I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to run it through the embossing machine and then we can come back and highlight those poppies. All right, so let's grab that embossing folder. I have not tried this embossing folder yet. I have seen it done and it looks lovely. Michelle says that's quite the red. That is lumberjack plaid. That is your true red in the Distress family. It's lovely. It's good for Christmas too. All right, so I'm going to stick this in here. And again, just a little tip and technique. When you're using the Spellbinders one, the top of the folder will always have the Spellbinders name on there with the code on there. So when you put your paper in, you always want your good side facing up. It is a 3D embossing folder, so I'm going to actually spritz the back of it just to help stretch the papers. I don't want to miss the top of it because I've inked on there and I don't want water splats. All right, so let's go ahead and emboss this. Now, this is a 3D embossing folder. So I'm going to need my special plate. All right, so that is this one here, and you can find that in the universal plate system. So if you have a newer Spellbinders machine, it comes with it, so you have that. But for the 3D embossing folders, it's going to be the base, the thick one, your embossing folder with the paper, and then the adapter plate, which is the gray one. All right, so we're going to run that through. Now, I will typically go back and forth with a 3D embossing folder just to make sure that design is pressed in there nicely. All right, let's ooh and ah. Ooh and ah, the poppy. Oh, that is gorgeous. Okay, take a look, guys. Look at that. Oh, I love it. All right, so let's continue. Let's continue. So let's talk about the dies then, just so that you're aware of how these work. We're not going to use the dies, but this die here will kind of cut out that. I think it's that one. Yeah, it'll cut out that one. And then this one here, I think will cut out this one here. And then this here. You got to find the ones that are like by themselves. I think it's that one there. All right. Because there's poppies that are overlapping, but you want to find the ones that are kind of by itself. Those are the ones you're going to die cut. All right. So, okay. So I'm going to now go over top of this with, I think, fired brick. Okay. So now I'm taking a deeper red. And I'm hoping now we're just going to highlight the edges of the poppies, all right? So I might actually have to use a different brush. I think this one's getting right into the grooves, but all right, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it. I'm going to, this is probably too dark of a ink to do that. I'm just highlighting those. I'm going back to my lumberjack plaid because I just feel that, ooh, that's turning out pretty now. So I'm just lightly, just in rotating motions, and I'm really just hitting that emboss because it's 3D though. You're really going to get bits and pieces, and you're going to highlight them. All right. So that needs to dry, and because there's quite a lot of ink on there. But look how beautiful that is. All right. So pretty. I love it. All right. So then I'm going to take my little silhouette people here. All right. And take a look at that. Oh, it's so lovely. All right. So this here, remember, this is a smaller little piece. And you can see all the characters fit in except for the lion's tail. All right. So what you're going to do, paper is paper. So you can kind of bend his tail up. And then you can tack it down and it's going to fit nicely on your A2 panel. Remember, this is slightly smaller than an A2 panel. I think if you were to do a regular 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, he would fit on there. But I've trimmed it 4 by 5 1/4 because I want to mat this on another piece of paper. So I'm just going to kind of slightly bend his tail in to fit in. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing. Foam adhesives behind the characters, a little bit of foam tape behind or on the bottom edge just to give it, and my adhesive will probably not stick because there's so much ink and it still needs to dry, but we're going to go for it. All right, and let's do, ooh, Sherry, what a good idea. I don't have my metallic inks here, otherwise I would have done that. I would have done another card. They're still sitting at the store on my desk. But that would be a great way. The metallic inks from Lisa Horton. It would be really great to skim that over top of it. All right, so you would get that lovely, lovely shimmery goodness. All right, so again, I'm just going to line this up to the bottom. All right, all my characters are on, and I'm going to give it a good burnish because my ink is not. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a little bit of glue behind the tuft of his tail. That was not a little glue. That was a whole lot of glue. All right, and then I'm just going to kind of bend it up and down. I get all glue in there. Good thing it dries clear. All right, so now his little tail is in there. All right, and then we're going to trim off the excess, and then I'll probably mount this on a black card base. All right, but there is that with a lovely little sentiment. But look at all that texture. Again, those will stick down once my Distress ink dries. My heat gun is packed away from the weekend still, so I do not have that. But look how lovely that is. All right, so quick and simple cards using that silhouette die from Spellbinders, Wizard of Oz. All right, 2 cards done. Let's continue on. We're going to get into better press now. All right, so let me just clean up a little bit here. So I did a little prep work and trying to get, things cut, pattern papers cut and all that. I will tell you, I am using some of the pattern papers from the Graphic 45 collection. So I'm just going to bring that out to kind of show you those papers because they are quite lovely. If you are a Wizard of Oz fan, which I think a lot of us are, they're just beautiful. Okay, so this is the collection pack, the 12 by 12. There's also an 8 by 8, but this is where you're going to find all that beautiful imagery. You can see the poppies. This is where the embossing folder was mimicked from. All right. In true Graphic 45 yellow brick road background, you're going to have some cutaways in there, 3x4s, 4x6s. And then you also get the solids in here as well, which is lovely. It's kind of a change that Graphic 45 did. They have the patterns and then they include the solids in there, which is nice. All right. So that's the 12 by 12. The 8 by 8 would be the same. But then I love the fact that they're coming out with just a plain solids was what they're called, their solids pack. This is the 8.5 by 11 Wonder of Oz patterns and solids pack, which is great for card makers and it's great for when you're starting to use coordinating product like we are this evening. So you're going to have all the colors that work really well with this collection. It works well with the pattern papers, but they also have little tiny prints on the back side as well. All right. So I think most of the patterns I'll be using is from this pack. There might have been 1 or 2 things that I've chose from the 12 by 12. Okay, so let's get started. And I'm going to do the Tin Man one first. All right, so I have a couple of little things here. This again, we're going to do as 5.5 by 5.5 card. The 5.5 by 5.5 card. All right. So I just got some really kind of fun papers from my stash that were more masculine. All right. So I know when we talk about the Wizard of Oz, we think of Dorothy and all that. But I really wanted to make kind of some masculine cards with this collection. All right. So I just grabbed. This is from a Rust and Revs, I think. It was a scrap that I had. And this one here, this paper here was from the Botanical Buzz from 49 and Market, but I love this kind of beehive on there. So that's what I'm using. So I just cut some panels here. I'm going to get my base done and then we'll do the pressing. All right. So we're just going to do kind of a collagey layered look here. So I'm sure you probably all want measurements in case you want to mimic this, right? So I'm gonna have to measure because I don't remember. All right, so I just cut the pattern paper to size and then I did a brown background, a brown cardstock matte, 1/8 of an inch bigger. So let me get these down and I'll give you measurements. I know some of you like to mimic these cards. So if you're on the rewatch and doing, I will give you those measurements. All right. So 5 by 5 card base. All right. So that's my card base. And then I cut a pen. Oh, my ruler is not. Oh, here it is. Okay. The pattern paper is 3.5 by 5 1/4, and then my brown cardstock then is 3 5/8 by 5 3/8. All right. So this here we're going to kind of frame in on the right hand side of on on the right-hand side of my card panel here. All right, so I'm just making a base for our Tin Man. I probably could have inked those as well. Okay, so we're just going to frame it in on that right-hand side. Okay, then I'm going to take this piece and then I'm going to frame it in on the kind of left-hand side. And I'm going to push it up a little bit closer to the top. I know I have little black bands here, but that's okay. And this is going to go down flat. And I'll give you the measurements for this one as well, just in case. Again, I'm going to keep my matting on the left-hand side the same as the right-hand side. All right, this piece here then is 4.5 by 3 1/4. So then our mat is 4 5/8 by 3 3/8. Complicated, those eighths, you know. All right, so that's my base now. So let's go ahead and press our Tin Man. All right, so the Tin Man is with the lion and the scarecrow. So I'm going to grab him and let's get our better press out. It's like, what did I do with my better press? But it's here already. All right, this paper is not sticky no more. All right, so I have my better press panels somewhere. I had them all trimmed out. There they are. Okay, so let's go ahead and prep our better press. So I'm just using the porcelain paper. I think this is porcelain. And I'm just going to tape down the 4 corners because I don't have my sticky grid here with me. The piece of tape is stuck to my hand and I cannot get it off my finger and I cannot get it off. I have no nails. All right, there we go. All right, so now let's get this little guy. I'm just going to center him. All right, and we're going to do this in a brown. Now, I think I'm going to choose the new set from Dina Walkley. We just got in. I'm super excited about this one because this is a real true Christmas palette. We've got fur, which is that dark green. We've got the ruby, which is that lovely red. We've got the lime green, and then we've got syrup, which I love her syrup color. She has it in her paints and all that too. So I'm going to use this. So yeah, these are available now. We just got the 2 new collections of Better Press inks from Dina in. So I'm going to use the brown, the syrup, because I think that's going to match that brown that I chose nicely. Okay, so let's go ahead and ink up my Tin Man here. Okay, I think he is good and inked. And let's go ahead and press him. And, oh, look at him. Ooh, he is awesome. I don't know. It looks fabulous. All right. Just a question there from Cheryl. I'm sure, can the Better Press dies be used with other machines or do I have to put a Better Press on my wish? It can be used with the Glimmer machine. So you can foil these, Cheryl, but in order for it to press, you have to have the Better Press. Yes. So to get that letter press feature, the Better Press is the machine that you want. Yes, Christmas is just around the corner. It would make a great gift, and I know where you can find one. But if you have a glimmer foiling machine, you could definitely foil him. All right. So I can't remember if you do or not, but that also makes a great Christmas gift as well. So there's our Tin Man. I am going to go ahead and now trim this guy down. All right. We're not going to use the die cut for this. We're just going to trim him out, and then we're going to do a coordinated mat for him. So I'm just going to take a little bit off of here and a little bit off of there. So let's see, 3.5. That looks all right. Let's. All right, so 3.5 by 4.5 is, I think, what I'm going to, because we're going to then, I might trim a little bit more off of him. Let's do a 1/4 inch off of either side. Okay, so now I think I'm happy with that. Yes. Okay, so he is 3 by 4.25. 3 by 4.25. I'm going to cut a cardstock mat now. So he's 3, so I'm going to go 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. That just gives us an 1/8 bigger. And now this will frame onto here. And then we're going to put this on here. And then we're going to do a little bit of inky action going on here. All right. So he's a little too stark white. All right. So what I want to do is I just want to add a little bit of color here. So I am going to go back to that syrup. All right. So I'm just going to grab my brush. All right. I'm going to grab this brush here, and I'm going to pick up some ink. And yes, you can blend with these inks. All right. All right. So I just want to add just a little bit kind of brown edging. All right. We're just dirtying up the image just a little bit. Just hitting the edges. Okay, so we've got a little bit of brown edge on there. All right, so let's go ahead, and I see that I'm not the only one enabling you. There's a bunch of you enabling poor Cheryl. I shouldn't say poor Cheryl. You wouldn't regret the Better Press. To me, it's one of my favorite things is the Better Press. I just think because you get instant satisfaction from it. Like it's just so, it's that aha moment, right? Okay, so I think I want to speckle him as well. All right, let's go ahead and speckle him with some gold. I don't know what's going on with my lid here. It just doesn't want to open for me. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of put my finger over top of him so we don't get him splattered. All right, so I just kind of want to splatter around him. So I could do this with some paper, but my finger's kind of the width of him, so. Okay, so there is that. And then we got to let that dry. That's going to get attached over here. And then I'm going to have, I have some of these gears from Uniquely Creative. Honestly, I don't know if these are still available, guys. These were just in my stash. All right. They were just in my stash. All right. But I just thought these gears would be fun to put on. I saw a sample done with something similar, and I just thought, oh, how much fun would that be, right? So I think I'm just going to put a couple of gears. I like that big one. On here, maybe we'll do 3. And a great masculine card. And then I'm going to let this dry, but there is that. We're going to put a little sentiment on there afterwards, but there we go. All right, great. I mean, quick and simple. It's got that wow factor, but there's my Tin Man. All right, so I'm not going to draw. I will get this all done. We'll put a sentiment in here as well. So I'm not going to put my gears down and everything until this is all dry. So either I'll come back to it at the end or I will finish it off camera. But you know, I always take pictures of it and post them. All right. So, okay. So there is Tin Man. Tin Man is done. Kind of. Okay. Are we ready to move on? Let's move on to, which one are we going to do next? Let's do the Scarecrow. All right. So for this one here, I did grab some ribbon and jute from the store because I just thought that would be fun because he's a straw man, right? So you should have some texture in there. Okay, so my little notes. All right, so what I've done is I've taken a piece of craft paper. That's going to be my card front. And then this is one of the pattern papers from the Graphic 45 Patterns and Solids. And I just cut a little frame. And for the inside frame, I use the notched corner frames, all right, for that Spellbinders notched corner frames. So I just took one of them to cut a frame out of there. And before we go better pressing, I'm just going to add a little bit of brown ink on everything here. So I'm just going to go back to my syrup because it's here. And I'm going to just pick them up. And I just want to kind of deepen the edges of my pattern paper here. This paper's got a matte finish to it, so it accepts ink really nicely. So I'm going to do the outside edge, and then I'm going to do the inside edge. It's amazing what ink does, like just to hit that edge. It just gives it that shadowy look. It's just amazing. Ink is amazing. All right. Okay, so my frame is done. I don't want to attach it quite yet because we're going to put our Better Press image in between. Let me just clean up my inky mess here. All right. So let's grab another Better Press paper and we're going to press the Scarecrow now. All right, so the Scarecrow, he makes me laugh. And you'll see why when I press him. All right, so let's take Tin Man off and we'll put that guy here. Get our paper prepped. All right, and I think I'm going to press him in that syrup again, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and ink him up in the syrup. And we're going to do a quick watercolor on him when he is pressed, all right, just to give him some life. The Tin Man we didn't, we just left him plain. This one we can go in and do some watercolors, all right? So, all right, he's inked up. Let's go ahead and press him. I think this is what I love about Better Press. It doesn't take a whole lot to do. It's quick and simple, effective. It's got that wow factor. All right, take a look. Doesn't he make you smile? Oh my gosh, he's so fun. So fun. All right, so let's do a quick watercolor on him. So I'm going to grab some blue. I didn't grab my inks for this, so just bear with me here. I'm gonna grab bundled sage. I'm gonna use some red. I want faded jeans, maybe. Oh, stormy sky will do. Okay, just use what I have out, Brenda. Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly watercolor this with Distress ink. So I have a water brush here, and I'll probably bring in a little bit of red too, maybe. All right, let's see if I can get this going. Okay, so watercoloring with Distress, very simple, very easy to do. I'm just going to grab a little bit of the blue. I'm just going to push it onto my glass mat here. My water brush is flowing. I'm going to add a little bit of water, pick that up, and now I can go in and just very quickly color. All right, so I would probably spend a little bit more time if I wasn't on camera, but I'm just really going to do a quick coloring and bring him to life here. All right. You can do your whole shading and such if you wanted to, but I am just going to be quick here. All right. So we've got his lovely pants done. And the cool thing about watercoloring is you don't have to be perfect about it. All right. So if you don't get it all filled in, not a big deal. It's watercolors. Okay. So his pants are done. And let's go ahead and do his boots. I'm going to do them in brown. So again, I'm just going to add a little bit on my glass mat. I cleaned off my brush, at least I think I did, yeah. Cleaned off my brush, and now I can pick up that brown. And let's color the... Okay. Brown, anything else do I want brown? I actually might... I'm going to just really water this down. Really water this down. And I'm just going to do his face. So it's a light tan now. And maybe his hands as well. Again, just a very light touch, just to give it some color. Okay. Next. All right, I think I'm going to do, I'm going to do Rusty Hinge for his shirt. All right, so again, add a little bit onto your glass mat, add some water from your water brush and pick it up, and you're good to go. So the Better Press paper is really nice to watercolor on because it's got that kind of absorbency like watercolor paper. Like it's got that plush kind of feel. It really is nice to work with. All right, so now I don't know what part is here because there's a lot of detail there and I can't figure it all out very quickly. So I'm just adding some color and hope for the best. He's got a scarf on, or maybe that's, I don't know what that is, but okay. So we've got that, clean it up. And let's do some bundled sage. So again, this is a lighter, I don't know if any color went on. I know it's a light color, but okay, we're good now. All right, so I'm going to do this little scarf. And maybe the band on his hat. Okay, he's look how fun he is. All right. And then last but not least, we're gonna do his hat now. And I'm gonna use fossilized amber. Now I might go in and just deepen it up a little bit with some brown if it's too bright. Um, but let's see. This is the kind of mustardy. Oh no, I think I might be okay with this. Again, I'm not too concerned if I'm perfect. Actually, I might add a little brown to it. So I'm going to use this. I'm just going to add a little water. My brush is dry. I ran out of water in my brush. Um, I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow, and I'm just going to add a little bit, kind of like where the straw is kind of peeking out. I'm just adding just a little bit here and there. Actually, I think I'm quite happy with him. All right, he's done. All right, quick and simple. He's lovely. All right, clean up. And now let's put this guy together. Okay, so I just need to trim him a little bit so he fits behind our frame here, all right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take my brush here and I want to I'm just gonna dirty up the paper just a little bit. So it's not so bright white. That's better. All right, so I just took whatever ink was on my brush and just went around. The camera may not pick it up, but I've just dirtied it up a little bit so it's not so white. Okay, so let's trim this down. So I'm going to trim it to 3 3/4 by 5. So I centered him pretty good. So I'm just going to go ahead. So 3 3/4 by 5. I might have to take a little bit more here. Okay. All right, so that's going to fit behind there. Look how sweet he is. All right, so I'm going to just put liquid glue just around the inside of the frame. And then we'll frame our scarecrow. It's hard to tell if it's straight or not because he's crooked. He's like got a weird stance because he's a scarecrow, right? So, all right, so there is that. And before I put it on here, I thought we would wrap some ribbon around it, all right, just at the bottom. So I have some jute. I don't know. I like all these colors, but I think we can't have all of them. I don't know if I'm going to use the jute now. I think I like the ribbon. Okay, so I'm just going to tie, yeah, we're going to tie a little bow around here. So let's go ahead and do that. I have way too much ribbon here. So I'm just going to put a length of double-sided tape on the back side. And then I'm going to grab my ribbons and just giving myself enough to tie a bow to the front. And maybe it will just be a knot. I will see. Actually, I'm going to put it to the one side, I think. All right. So I think I'm just going to leave it as a knot. All right, so there is that. And now we're just going to go ahead and place this now onto our card front. And then this one will be done, except for a sentiment. Again, I will do the sentiments using that press plate. Um, All right, while I'm doing this, gonna check. The detail on these plates are pretty awesome, Arlene. I mean, you know that you have Better Press, I believe. That's what I love about Better Press is that the details, you can't get that with a stamped image, all right? Sometimes, you know, the details, when you go to stamp them from a stamp, you put a little too much pressure and then you get that smushed look. You all know what I'm talking about, I think. You never get that with the Better Press, right? You always get that detail, which is pretty awesome. All right, so I'm going to frame this in onto my craft cardstock. And there is that. All right, look at how cute he is. All right, so Tin Man done, Scarecrow done. All right, look at that now. Lovely. All right, so that one is done. Let's move on. All right, let's move on. So let me just tidy up a little bit. And let's do the lion next. The lion. All right, we're going to actually die cut this guy out now after we press him. Okay. This one, we're going to use that embossing folder again. So I have a piece of red cardstock. And I cut that 4 by 5 1/4. Then this is one of those pattern papers from the pattern papers. And then I just cut that 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then my black card front, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. All right. So we're going to emboss this with the poppy. So let me get Let me get this going here. All right, so red cardstock. I'm going to spritz it front and back to put it in the embossing folder. So I'm just going to do that off camera. All right, now this here, we are going to do a vertical card, a portrait card. So I'm making sure my papers are going, the paper is going the right way. So I'm going to put that in again. The front is the one with the Spellbinders name on it. So we've got that in. We're going to run that through. And again, I like to go forwards and backwards with a 3D embossing folder to really push in that design. Do, do. And for those that are just joining us, oh my gosh, that's even, oh my gosh, look at that, it's beautiful. The poppy embossing folder comes with dies as well, so you can actually cut out some of these lovely little poppies, all right? But look how beautiful that is. Love it. I have to do this on teal now because the poppy is our flower in our logo. And I was telling someone about the story about our logo. So I might as well share it because I just talked about it. I'm gonna highlight this a little bit, and I think let's see what I'm gonna do here. I don't want to do what I did before. I'm gonna use a brush. How the teal or blue poppy came around. Some of you know this story, some of you do not. But when I opened up the store, I was kind of in a spot in my life where I needed a new fresh start, and so there were my dad was always been a big support for me. So his favorite flower is the poppy. So that's where the poppy floral came from when I opened up the store. And the bluey teal color, and this is a funny story. So my first husband, who has passed, he was colorblind. Chris was colorblind, and we used to have a lot of fun with Chris and his colors. And the one day he came home with flowers for me, and they were carnations. Now, carnations are not my favorite flower, but this bouquet was probably the ugliest thing I've ever seen. I mean, carnations, but they were dyed this blue color, bluey teal color, and it was not a good dye job. But he didn't know they were a blue color, right? So I acted, oh, that's nice. You brought me home flowers. That's wonderful, right? Well, it came out that they were like this awful, like tealy blue. And it was the ongoing joke all the time about these blue flowers that he brought home one day, and he had no idea because he was colorblind. So that is where the teal color came from. I love teal, but I mean, these carnations were really, they were awful. I don't know where he got them from, but they were the worst ever. But we kind of we I treasure that memory because it was just such a great memory. But that is where the teal and or blue poppies come from in our logo. So, okay, so I've just added a little bit of lumberjack plaid on there, and it's just really making those poppies pop out. I'm going to grab some fired brick now, and I'm going to lightly, let's see if I can do lightly, and just highlight some of the higher edges. Oh yes, I'm doing it. This is what I wanted before when I did the ink before, but I was too heavy-handed. So you got to go light, just like a little swirly motion over top. I might actually go in with aged mahogany too, just to really, I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but all right. Let's go with aged mahogany. Now this is pretty dark. So again, I'm just doing a light touch. I just want to kind of hit the edges of those pot. Yeah, this is going good. All right. Light touch, everyone, when you do this. Your brush is hardly hitting the paper when you are doing this. All right. It's just a very light touch. And now I've highlighted the edges. I don't know if the camera's picking. It's very subtle, but it's there. All right. I'm happy with that. Let's clean up there. Okay, so I'm going to now attach this to this kind of reddy brown color and then onto the black. And then we're going to get our lion. All right, so let's do this. Oh my goodness. Okay. Ribbon everywhere, a mess. I can't wait to do the lion. He's really detailed. Dude, oh my gosh, I have no nails and I cannot, I wish I had my tape runner. Mental note to bring a refill home. All right. Usually I have a refill here, but I do not. Let's frame that in. Ooh, this is not straight by any means. All right, try that again. There we go. Oh, that poppy background. Oh my gosh, it's just amazing. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and glue this now to our card front, and then we'll work on our lion. So I'm gonna frame this in. So we just have that hint of black. All right, so there is our card front. It's lovely. All right, so let's go ahead and do our lion. All right, so we're going to use our press plate and then we're going to use a die cut. So let's get another piece of better press paper. Now, because we're die cutting him, I don't have to worry about him being centered or anything because we are going to die cut. So you just want to make sure you have enough room around your paper for the die cut to go. All right, so there is that. And I'm going to do him I think I want to do him in kind of a mustardy yellow, so let's go with saffron. All right, so let's ink him up. Okay, let's go ahead and press him. And the big reveal. Look at him. Oh my gosh. Okay, I thought the scarecrow was the cutest, but I think the lion is super cute. Oh my gosh. He is lovely. Oh, okay. Let's add some color to him before we die cut him. Actually, maybe I'll die cut him out and then add some color. All right, so. Okay, so let me just get my die cut machine here and the necessary plates. Okay. All right, so I am going to tape this down so that my die does not move. When you do this, you really want to make sure that your tape is on the outside of the die, not into the inside of your image, because better press paper is very delicate. So you don't want the chance of it really adhering and then you have to rip it off. So what I mean about taping on the outside, once you have it lined up, you're going to attach your tape to the die, but then have the tape on the outside of the die. I'm showing you this, but it's not really in view. I get that. I'm sorry. Let me move that. All right. So you can see that I've taped the die. All right, but the rest of the tape is on the outside because that's our negative. We won't be using that. So don't put the tape onto the inside because you don't want the chance of ripping that. All right. So, and the other thing is when you use your die cut with the better press paper, um, you want a plate that's not really marked up because that will indent your better press paper. Mine is not too bad. I don't have a fresh plate here. I usually always have a plate that I just use for die cutting with my better press. I think somehow it got mixed up with my other plates and I used it and now I don't have one, but this one's not too bad. All right, so take a look at him. Yeah, see, I have a little indentation there from on my plate, but look how cute he is. All right, it's great that we have the die cuts for them because it just makes, we have options now, which is nice. All right, so I think I want to add a little bit of color to him on our little poppy background. So let me put my die back before I lose it. So I think I'm going to I'm going to blend some color on instead of watercoloring. So I'm just going to grab a brush. Where is my yellow brush? All right. I have my yellow brush. There's fossilized amber on here from our blending. And I think it'll probably be enough that I can just add a little bit of yellow to him. And then I can always go back with a little bit of brown too. So I'm just fully doing the whole die cut. I'm going to grab my brown and let's just deepen the edges here. Being careful with the tail. And you know what? I'm going to do a little bit of watercoloring. I want to do his mane. I think I want to just add a little bit more color to his mane. So I'm going to grab my water brush. Ooh, that's really dark. Ah, A little bit more water. All right, so now he's got a big splotch. I know I got really quiet because I'm concentrating on coloring. uh, I'm just going to color in. And then I'll do just a little bit of shading on there just to bring in that brown. I'm just coloring him. Just giving him some shading. Okay, we'll let him dry. All right, so there's my lion. He's so cute. All right, so we're going to attach there. Actually, I might actually go into the sticker sheet here. Should we put the sticker sheet here? No, there's not enough yellow in there. I was going to do that, but I am going to go ahead and just because I can, I'm going to tie 2 little bows from ribbon here because I have the ribbon. And we're going to attach it to the 2 little bows, one in his mane and one, I guess one in his beard and one in his mane. So let's just do 2 little bows. How are we doing for time here? Oh, we're okay. I got one more card to do, so I may not get to the sentiments, but I'll talk about them and then I'll do them off camera. And then, like I said, I always post my pictures. They'll be done tomorrow morning. I'll post them. I'll do all the finishing touches. Do. Of course, these bows have to be so tiny to fit in. Okay. So one of these bows is going to go right up there. And the other little bow, I'm just going to make a little bit smaller, is going to go in his little beard. And then I'll trim that, and that one's going to go there. All right. So we have the 2 little bows, which mimic the bows that are in the image. And then we'll put a little sentiment in there as well. I'm going to make these bows even smaller. I'm just going to adjust them just a little bit more. Get a little too big. Yeah, that's better. All right, so I want to get to the next card and then talk about the sentiment. So let me just finagle this. I won't tack anything down. I will go back and glue this down. But this one is basically done. It's going to go on there. We'll have a little better press sentiment. Let me just bring this up to the camera. All right, he is super cute. Oh my gosh. I love that yellow against the poppies as well. All right, so just a nice contrast. Okay, let's get to our last one, which is going to be Dorothy. All right, I didn't do the witches, but I thought Dorothy would be super cute. All right, so that's going to be on the secondary dice or press plate and die set. So the lion, the Tin Man, and Scarecrow are on the first one, and then the second one is Dorothy and the Good Witch and the Bad Witch. All right, so for this one here, I did do some paper trimming already. We've got some red ribbon on here. So this one here, I used a lot of the pattern papers from the collection pack for this one here. All right. So I just want to clean up this ink that I have here. Okay, so from the pattern papers, I think this was from the solids. I just cut a 4¼ by 5½ panel. And then I have two lovely pattern papers here from the collection. One with the poppies, one with that gingham that we're going to just kind of, I did 2 by 5¼ and we're just going to center them on. All right, so that's going to be our panel there. So let me just go ahead and glue those down. I love using patterns on top of patterns. And that's the cool thing about collection packs is that when you get a collection pack, most likely all the patterns will work together. All right, so there's a big poppy and then there was a little poppy. I really like, I'm going to do the little, I'm second guessing myself now. I'm going to do the big poppy. I changed my mind. I was going to do the little poppy, but all right, so that's just going to go there. All right, and then I just took another pattern paper from there, and then I just cut a strip, and then I matted it, and then this is going to go on here like so. All right, that's going to be the base here. And again, I could have inked all these as well, but I did not. All right, and this is just going to go like just under the halfway mark here. All right. All right, so that's our card front. All right, nice play with the patterns. All right, so that's that. Then I took I was looking for a circle die set, and I found this in my collection. This is the fluted, I don't know what they're called. I think the fluted circles from Spellbinders. So it's got this nice little fluted edge. All right, so that's going to go on kind of like that. And then this one here I'm going to use to cut Dorothy out. All right, so when we press it. So let's press her first. So another piece of Better Press paper. And let's get this on. And then we're going to get Dorothy. Now, because I've been using all the blues, I think I might use this as a tone on tone. So I'm actually going to go and find, I think Coastal is going to be, yeah, Coastal will be the color I want. Kind of matches the blues that I'm using. I think Cosmic Sky is a little too dark. So I think Coastal is going to be a good color. So I'm going to just ink the whole thing in blue. Oh, Toto's even in her little basket. I didn't even notice that. Ah, so cute. Okay, so she's inked up. We're going to go ahead and press her. And there she is. Look at her. Ah, she's lovely. So sweet. All right, let's put that back. I'm not going to worry about the die cut for Dorothy because we're going to cut her out in a circle. So going to grab my die cut machine. And so I just took the next size down in my nesting die, which is this one here. My paper clip's caught on it. And I know I'm going to cut off her legs, but that's okay. I'm going to kind of center it around her upper body. All right. I just want her and Toto. And let's cut this out. Okay. All right. So we have Miss Dorothy in the circle now. And I'm going to mount this in here, but I think my white is a little too bright. So again, I am going to soften this up with a little bit of brown ink. And I'm just going to use my yellow brush to pick up the brown ink because it'll also give it a little bit of yellow in there as well. So very light touch. I'm going to just test it on the back first. Yeah, okay. So just going to just dirty up the edges. And it's just going to take, I should have used a cream piece of better press paper, but I did not. So there, now that's much better. Okay, so let's glue that on. Center that. I like this die because it does have the fluted edge and it's got a little pinpoint on there as well. Okay, then I have this lovely red ribbon. We're going to pop this up on there, and then I think I'm going to then have a little red ribbon behind it, and then we'll tie a nice little bow. So let's pop this up with a little bit of foam adhesive. Oh my gosh, my scissors are stuck to my adhesive. All right. Now I could go in and watercolor Dorothy. Oh, I got some brown ink on there now. Darn it all. And add a little bit of red on there, which might be a fun little element. But maybe we'll just leave her plain. I don't know. Okay, I always like to put double-sided adhesive on the back when I'm doing ribbon because that just holds it in place so I can tie it. This is a lovely red ribbon. I love this. All right, so let's just trim this a little bit more manageable. I think I have to do a little bit of red watercolor on there just with this red ribbon. Now, the other thing I might be would like to do is I might actually go ahead and do some poppies with the die cut and add them on here. Just because we can do that as a little floral using that embossing folder. I think I'll do that off camera because I want to talk about the press plate. I'm going to stick a little glue dot behind there. I am going to go ahead and watercolor her a little bit as well. So I'm going to do that real quick and then we'll talk about the press plate. All right, so lumberjack plaid. Now remember, red is the problem child in the color family. It always wants to do things you don't want it to do, like bleed and such. So just be careful when you are watercoloring. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of red for her bow here. And maybe the little ribbons in her hair. I'm literally like holding my breath as I'm doing this because I want to stay inside the lines. And then I'm going to do the little cuffs of her shirt. Oh, that's not the cuff of her shirt. That's the basket handle, but we're just going to color that in. Um, and then she's got this little detail on her dress, these little stripes. All right, that's just enough red, I think, to make her pop. And actually, you know what? Just because it's going to bother me, I'm going to do the trim of the basket in red. And then I know that then the handle makes sense. Okay, so there is that. She still needs, I'm going to put some red poppies there. And again, I'm going to emboss a background like this, or I'm going to die cut and then emboss the little details. And I'm going to put them on here and then with a sentiment. All right, so that's how I'm going to finish that off. So let's talk about the sentiment plate. Dun. Sentiment plate. All right, so the sentiment plate for this one has, sentiments that's going to work with all the characters. Like there's one about courage that would go with the lion. There's one, a wicked friend like you is rare, that would go with the wicked witch. So there's great. So I'm going to press these ones up. And you only need to press it once and then die cut it once. You're going to have all these sentiments. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera and then attach them to the cards. All right. So just so that you know where those sentiments came from. All right. So let's just bring back all the fun stuff that we did. Like I said, I'm going to add poppies on this one. All right. And then I'm going to finish up my little lion here with the little bows. All right. And attach him on the card. We've got the scarecrow here. He needs a little sentiment as well. I may splatter that one a little bit. I think it needs a little bit of something. And then we have our silhouette ones. I have not taken the backings off these ones, but they're going to stick, and we're going to stick that on a black background. I'll add a little sentiment on there. Then we have the green background, the Emerald City one. And again, we'll get these stuck down with a lovely sentiment on there or here. And then finally, our Tin Man, he's dry now, so we'll put him all together. But there you go, everyone. Not bad. 6 cards I did this evening, all based on the new 49 Market, Graphic 45 and Spellbinders collaboration for The Wizard of Oz. What magnets do you have your press plate on? Debbie is asking, what magnets? Oh, these guys, sorry. So you missed that, Wendy, not Wendy, Debbie. These are prototypes from Spellbinders. So I had these in my hands before release date, so I have prototypes. These are just cardboard that they're on. They're not magnets. I need to put them on magnets, so I don't have the regular packaging. So they were just prototypes from an event that I was in with Spellbinders that I was a lucky recipient to receive ahead of time. So no magnet sheets. All right, so that is it for me, everyone. Thank you for watching live, and for those that are watching on the replay, I appreciate your time. I hope you had fun. Maybe you learned a thing or two. But aren't these plates just fabulous? These plates and dies, they're awesome. So that's it for me, everyone. Have yourself a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.